Hey guys, what's happening? So we're back to continue our coverage of One World Under Doom with the Fantastic Four issue 29 tie-in. And man, this one is something else. So let's get right into it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so going into Fantastic Four issue 29, this starts out with a bit of an inner monologue from Sue Storm, with her saying 7 days ago, Dr. Doom declared himself Emperor of the World. A classic Doom plot really, and we responded in the classic way. We teamed up with all the other heroes we could find, and then we went to Latveria to stop him. And we failed. We failed. Doom was betting on us doing exactly what we always do, and we didn't disappoint. It's been a week. God, it's only been a week. I keep having to remind myself how crazy this is, how abnormal it is. Because life continues under Doom. Everything continues. Doom wants it to. And with Sue, you can tell it's this thing where, like, okay, Doom won. It happens. And sure, there's this part of her that feels like, in hindsight, the heroes could have done something different. But one of the biggest things that's bothering her is how normal all this is beginning to feel. And she's been in her own head thinking about it a lot lately. And that's something that Ben ended up noticing. So to cheer Sue up, Ben was like, okay, let's take the day off. No kids, no spouses, no Doom, no worries. So he made arrangements for them to go and have a bite and hang out with their longtime friend, Jennifer Walters, the She-Hulk, who not only is a longtime friend, but also ex-teammate, with her originally joining the Fantastic Four not long after the first Secret Wars, where she replaced Ben for like 10 or 12 issues. And I don't even know if I would refer to Jennifer as an ex-teammate, because the Fantastic Four, they kind of got this thing where if you've ever joined the team, then you're always part of the family. But Ben's intention here is to get Sue's mind off of Doom, which they're able to do for like 2 seconds, because at first Sue's asking Jennifer about how things are going with Jack of Hearts, and right after that, Jennifer's like, oh yeah, Doom's taking over the world, right? It's crazy, isn't it? But shortly after, they place their orders, and you know Ben's gotta have a whole pot of joe. And after that, Ben goes on to talk about his dog Princess and the events that took place in Fantastic Four issue 704, when Ben was fighting the Miracle Man and his illusions, and Princess helped him out. And there's a lot more to the story, because at first you would think it was like this stray dog that would come and go, but Ben grew attached and him and Alicia ended up keeping her. But then it's here where Sue takes the conversation back towards Doom, because at this point she's like, okay Ben, that's all the opening I need. And that's when she looks at Jen and she's like, one question about Doom, and then I promise we'll leave the topic. And that's where she asks Jennifer, how is any of this legal? And Jen's like, what Doom's doing? None of this is legal. Because with Jennifer being the present attorney at the table, she's able to give them a bit more insight on this. Because she tells them that's the thing about laws, they don't mean anything if they're not enforced. It's why folks today don't get in trouble for, I don't know, eating an onion after 6 p.m. or singing while wearing a swimsuit, or whatever other wacky laws are still in the books. Somehow, Doom's convinced every world leader to give him all the leeway he wants. And I will say, I looked up the swimsuit thing, because I feel like I've heard that before. And I think it's only illegal if you're off key, but don't take my word on that, I'm not a legal advisor. But I mean, if anybody's out there singing in your swimsuit in Florida, on Instagram, all I'm saying is be safe. But nonetheless, Jen goes on to make a good point here, because when this conversation leads to Ben asking, aren't we supposed to be equal under the law? Jennifer tells him, in theory, yes. In practice, Benji, you know as well as I do that zero tolerance enforcement of the law harms more than it helps, because that'll only cause things to get a lot worse before they get any better. And while they're talking here, the waitress notices that they're having a conversation about Doom. So she gives her thoughts as Ben pays for the bill, because she's like, as much as I can't stand Doom, at least he's doing something about those horrid vampires. And she points to this homeless guy across the street who's definitely a vampire, and this guy's just trying to get by. But the waitress goes on to say here, I can't stand to see them acting like they didn't just try to kill us real people just months ago, like they're the victims. They're monsters, which to be clear, this is all in reference to the Blood Hunt event, when the sky was blacked out, allowing vampires to just run around everywhere since it was nighttime all the time, and nowhere was safe with the exception of Latveria. But basically all over the world, an insane number of people were bitten by vampires and turned. So now for a lot of people who are still human, and possibly still dealing with the Blood Hunt trauma, they want all the vampires gone, every last one of them. And it's not like these people asked for this. And after they leave, it kind of sparks this debate between Jennifer and Ben, because the way he sees it, all of this will pass with time, only for Jennifer to be like, okay, well how? But eventually they come across a family of 4 who were turned to vampires as a result of the Blood Hunt event, who were being chased down by a group of human supremacists who believed that this whole family should be killed because they're vampires. And as they're chasing this family down, this one dude is like, "That guy just ate a pigeon." And I'm not sure why that reminds me of the one episode of Martin where Hustle Man had those barbecue pigeons. But anyway, that's not important here. Because the truth is, these parents were trying to feed their kids. Because prior to this, they hadn't eaten in months. They were turned down by the blood bank. And as vampires, if they don't feed, they'll go feral. And they didn't want to harm people. So next, Sue puts up a force field wall to keep these people back. But even after hearing this family's story, these people are yelling, "Kill them," saying things like they're vampires, and using words like monster with a hard R. And this group of people are legit mad because the heroes aren't just taking this family out. And some of them even go as far as to say that the heroes are being hypocritical. And this one lady's basically like, "Well, Mr. Fantastic would have done it. Him and the Human Torch killed plenty of their kind." So both Jennifer and Ben, they try to de-escalate the situation to where eventually Sue's like, "Look, we're gonna escort this family away and everyone else here just needs to go back to their jobs, their homes, and their families." And then out of nowhere, a Doom radicalist sneaks up on Sue and the others from behind, only to leap in and stake both the mother and the father, killing the two of them right in front of their kids. And unfortunately, Sue's not able to contain the attacker until it's too late. And as soon as this happens, people start climbing over Sue's force-filled wall, even when they literally could have just walked around it, which lets you know these people are crazy. So Sue creates a platform to get her and the kids as well as Jennifer and Ben out of there, while the people below are yelling things like traitors, vampire lovers, species traitors, only Doom can save us, only Doom can save you. And it's like, oh man, this sounds like some Dr. Doom take the wheel. So Sue ends up taking the 5 of them to the Baxter building first, before bringing them back to Arizona. And there's this moment when they get here, man, with a girl, her name's Brooke. So Brooke calls over Mr. Fantastic to ask him, "Can you do something for me? Like a favor, I guess." So of course Reed is like, "Anything, Brooke." And she asks him, "Can you fix me, Mr. Fantastic? Me and my brother. Because I think we're both broken in the same way." And I gotta tell you, man, for a moment here, I had to catch myself. And even Reed is speechless here. You can tell this has him at a loss for words for a moment. Because even when Sue and Jen try to tell Brooke the nice things like, "Oh, you're not broken. You're fine just the way you are." But even Reed knows that it's only a matter of time before their bloodlust comes back. And Brooke even says to Sue here, in response to Sue saying she's not broken, Brooke tells her that's what everyone says, but it's not true. Because we get hungry. The other kids don't get hungry, but we do. And when we get too hungry, it's like nothing else matters. It's scary, miss. It burns. And I can feel it beginning. That pigeon. It wasn't enough. So Ben quickly grabs her, while saying that Reed's gonna work on something for her and her brother as fast as he can. Ain't that right, big brain? But it's not long before Brooke and her brother's hunger caused them to go feral. And while Reed's working on a solution, Ben and Jennifer lock themselves away with the kids, since their skin's thick enough to where they don't have to worry about being bitten. But even still, like we were told, this feral state is very painful for the children. So Reed's working as fast as he can to come up with something they could eat to get their bloodlust under control. So to help Sue, Alicia, and Johnny, they grab whatever Reed needs, and before you know it, he's come up with a solution that turns out to be made of 4 plant-based synthetic globins that'll mimic hemoglobin to their digestive tract. And even though this isn't a cure, this solution will allow these kids to live somewhat of a normal life. I mean, unless they turn like 200 and they still look like kids. But I mean, this is a step in the right direction. And I mean, their case of vampirism isn't quite your traditional sense, because with the vampires from Blood Hunt being able to walk in the daylight, we're told that manages some of their bloodlust too. So over the course of years, I imagine they would still age, just a lot slower. But right after this, Reed ends up sharing the recipe around the world so others can have this same solution. And while he does, Ben, Jennifer, and Sue, they track down the remaining family that the kids have, and this leads to them going to stay with their Aunt Heather. But all this comes together as a step in the right direction, because it was undoubtedly Doom's intention to use the people's fear of vampires in his favor. But now that the vampires across the world don't have to feed on human blood, this destroys one of the pillars of Doom's propaganda. Not long after this, Jennifer goes on her way, just before we jump to the next day, where now with what starts out for Sue as just a regular morning, we find her thinking about Ben's optimism and how at one point he said that Doom may have taken over the world and its leaders, but he hasn't taken over the people. And speaking of Doom, at one point Sue even says here that he works so hard to make us think of him as Dr. Doom, but he's really just some guy named Victor. And I don't know why, but I feel like Sue needs to put that on a diss track. But on this morning, which is starting much better than the day before, because after yesterday, Sue got up this morning feeling like, okay, things are heading in the right direction, we can fight Doom, we can beat him. But as they're walking the kids to the bus, they look up, and right across the street, when they look up, they see this family sending their kids out. And this family has Latverian flags hanging everywhere. And I mean, they got shirts, their kids are wearing the colors, they got signs in the yard. And I mean, the only thing that's missing is a hat that says "Make Latveria Great Again." And you know, it has me thinking at some point Doom needs to make another speech to give an update on the whole vampire situation now that Reed has come up with a solution. But knowing Doom, he'll probably get up there and be like, "They're eating the pigeons, all the pigeons, beautiful pigeons, they're eating them all." Cause I kinda doubt that he'll get behind what Reed's doing. But I mean, I guess with time we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.